Everyone has good ideas. The difference between the people who win and those also-rans is that the winners take action on those ideas. Tune into this week's podcast. We outline why it's so difficult for people to take action and what you need to do to become a winner and action the stuff that really counts. Create a better life, not just recycle the same stuff, but a better life.
Really hard to take action if you don't know where to start.
You'll lose confidence and respect for yourself as well because you know there's stuff you need to do that would really make a difference, but you're not able to do it.
Look, honestly, winners have a doesn't matter how good you are at something.
There's no one outside of you holding your feet to the fire, and that is a problem.
What's going to change if you don't change?
Dying and meeting the person you could have become, that is basically hell.
Well, let's get into how to actually fix this.
Welcome to the podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones here, the host of the Profitable Tradie podcast with Phil Smith, my co-host and co-collaborator, co-conspirator, all that stuff, mate.
Mr. Co. I'll take
Co.
it. Yeah,
Mr.
Co everything.
Yeah. Co everything.
Yeah, co-pilot.
Co-pilot. What is happening on today's episode?
Mate, well, we're talking about quite a cool topic, actually. And I'm sure if you're listening that there's something you'd probably love to change in maybe your business or your life that would make a huge difference to you, but you just haven't managed to change it yet. And I suppose what we're really talking about is, actions that are going to change your, business or life results for the better. So rather than just bashing on and doing more of what you're doing now, it's a significant change that's really going to improve things either in your business or your life or both. Maybe it's a to-do list for things that you want to action in your business, like you're going to, really set up some good fixed pricing, or you're going to, reorganize your organizational structure, or you're going to take on a bunch of marketing activities. So things that could change your business, or maybe, it's even personal stuff like diet or exercise, investing, relationships you want to focus on, or the likes. But it's stuff you want to do that's going to make meaningful change.
Yeah, and there's a saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I think everyone has good intentions. Everyone has ideas and things that they know that if they could do them, it would actually make a meaningful difference in their life. And like you say, it would actually create a better life, not just recycle the same stuff, but a better life. The trouble is, intentions actually don't lead to results. They require implementation, and action is where the results happen. And that is actually really difficult for most people. In fact, it's difficult for all of us, but it's really difficult for some people. Some people just never get there, and they tend to just, go through life. Life happens to them, and they really don't, make the changes that they want to, and that's a problem. And so we're going to talk about today why that's so difficult, because I think that's important to understand. That helps us break through then how we might actually make some of those changes.
Yeah, cool. And I'm sure you got a story to get started.
I do have a short story. There are three frogs.
3 frogs on logs.
Yeah, 3 frogs on logs.
3 frogs on one log.
There were 3 frogs sitting on one log, and one of those frogs decided to jump. How many frogs are left on the log, Phil?
Well, that'd be 3, Tony.
That would be right, because they decided to jump. They didn't jump. They didn't actually do anything. They had the intention to jump, but nothing actually changed. And how often in our lives, if you're listening, are you the frog who sat on the log, decided to jump, but you're still on the log?
Yeah.
It's definitely a challenge.
My dad used to say, it'll get off the pot.
Well, that's another way of putting it, right? It reminds me of Stephen Covey, my old mate, who's dead just now, as you know, but incredibly wise man, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and there's a cool concept in his book, and it's about understanding that, some activities are about production, they're about producing results and just doing the stuff you need to do. And in a business, that might be doing your jobs, getting work done out in the field. And then there's other activity that actually improves the productive capacity of your business and your life. And that's stuff that actually changes things, Like it might be if you're currently managing your team, productive capacity activity would be hiring a new manager. Or a productive capacity activity would be building a bunch of fixed price templates that allow prices to happen more quickly. Or it might be building some new systems and processes or getting new clients. That's stuff that's quite different. And that's the stuff that really changes your life. We don't shift our lives until we change our ability to influence, and we can influence more, which is about building more productive capacity. And that's really the critical thing.
But as we've already mentioned, the key is you can want to do all that all you want. You can have all the best intentions in the world, and you can decide, I'm going to make all this productive capacity change. But you do actually have to do it.
You do.
And I think if you have lots of good ideas but you do nothing, you run into issues.
You do. well, you're going to get older. And time's going to happen to you. And if you don't actually consciously do this, implement, nothing will actually fundamentally change in your life. You'll actually recycle the same results over and over again. And just wishing something to be true doesn't make it happen. Implementing it does. And if you find yourself in that situation, you find that your energy will suffer. You'll lose steam. You'll lose confidence and respect for yourself as well, because you know there's stuff you need to do that would really make a difference, but you're not able to do it. And I think we've all felt that. I know I've felt that when there's activities, whether it's going for a run, going to the gym, or having a hard conversation, or whatever it is. If you don't do it, and you should, it does actually affect your personal confidence. It makes you feel pretty rubbish.
Well, the problem is that when you ignore your problems, they tend to go down to the basement to lift weights.
I love that.
Yeah,
they don't go away.
Let them do that.
They don't go away. And the thing that's actually really important here is not only do you lose your own respect for yourself, other people start to lose respect for you, and they're like, well, you're all talk. Slightly personal story here. I thought it was my good looks and charm why my wife married me, but apparently it wasn't. She said to me, and she's told me this many times, one of the things I love about you is not only do you talk about stuff, you actually do stuff. Just pumping up my own tyres there.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember that? What was it? Self-praise is no recommendation.
But I thought about that, it's like, there's lots of people who talk about stuff, but you've actually got to do it. Otherwise it doesn't mean anything. And what I think if you don't do stuff, you end up getting cynical. You take on the victim mentality. You're like, hey, it's not fair. Life's happened to me. You tend to, vote left. Oh, sorry, I didn't say that. That's not nice. Anyway, but you do get cynical, and that's not cool.
Nah, it's not. And hey, look, just for always, I always thought that Bronwyn married you for your devilishly handsome haircut. But anyway, the point is, if we do take action, we're going to get
low.
If we do take action, we're going to get some pretty awesome results, right?
Yeah, look, if you implement on things that are going to make a difference, that's where real change happens. You become a bigger, better person, a bigger, better, more fulfilling life, better results, rather than just recycling the same things. You get leverage as well. Like, leverage is the key to success in life. You can get more done with the same effort, and that's about getting more team, better health, better understanding of your financials, all that sort of stuff. It allows you to have a bigger impact, and you build your productive capacity, your ability to make things happen. That's pretty cool. Then your self-confidence lifts. Once you have success in one area, you're prepared to try in other areas, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like a what do they call it? A victorious cycle rather than a vicious cycle. And then other people's respect goes up for you, and they start to see you as a person who does stuff. More opportunities come to you. This happens. It's amazing. You get a sense of gratitude for life. You're like, geez, this is pretty cool. And you understand that life can give you a lot if you're prepared to make that effort. And then instead of the victim mentality, you've got the victor mentality, the winner mentality. You know that you can create your future. And that gives you a very peaceful feeling. You know that you're in control of your environment. And that makes you feel grateful and quite peaceful about life, because you can make a difference.
Yeah, it's massive. So I think maybe what we could dig into now is why it is so hard to turn these good ideas and intentions into action, because I think if we understand why it's hard, it's easier to combat that.
Well, I think sometimes in life a problem shared is a problem halved. And so if this is difficult for everyone. And so it's important to know you're not alone. This is actually part of the challenge of being a human being and a business owner and a husband and a father and a wife and a mother and all that sort of stuff. Is everyone struggles with this. So don't beat yourself up about it too much, because that doesn't help. The more you beat yourself up about it, the worse it gets. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah.
But anyone can do it. That's the key point. So don't be too hard on yourself, but also, today you can give yourself a little uppercut as well. We're trying to do both.
Well, look, I think that really leads to the second thing, which is a paralysis by analysis. So I think sometimes, like we say, the normal thing here that we're not alone with is that we all have all these intentions of things we want to do. And often that can be quite a long list. But at the end of the day, you do actually have to take action somewhere for anything to happen. But there's also that balance of you probably can't do it all at once. So at some point you need to pick something and actually take action. But often picking something and taking action is difficult, because when we look at the thing that we're going to choose to take action on, we're then going to just get stuck into all the details of how am I actually going to do this? What does the road look like? What if this? What if that? What are the actual steps I'm going to take? It's very hard to climb a mountain without actually just taking a step forward. And sometimes we want to be so clear on the route up that mountain and, where all the difficult parts are going to be and do we have the right gear? And we can get so bogged down in all of those details that we just never actually take a step forward. And the unfortunate reality is you can't know every single detail before you take action. You can't have crossed every T, dotted every I. You can't have thought of every variable and mitigated every risk. The thing is, at some point, you do just actually need to start. And usually every road you take, to keep on with this metaphor, will have its bumps and its scrapes and its bruises. There will be things that don't go perfectly, no matter how much prep you do. So the reality is you do just have to start. And that paralysis by analysis can really shut down you ever taking action.
And this is a really big thing for contractors, subcontractors, tradespeople, because a lot of us are actually quite detail focused. We're quite analytical. We're problem solvers, and paralysis by analysis happens not to everyone. Some people don't do enough analysis and they kind of do crazy, stupid stuff without thinking about it. I'm not suggesting that. But for those of us who are real thinkers, this will really slow you down.
Definitely.
Because basically you can't figure it all out before you get started. So it's recognizing if you're that kind of person, you probably need to actually take some steps to get started.
Totally.
And I think tying in with that is a lack of accountability. So let's say in our business we're wanting to maybe put some pricing systems together to streamline our pricing and get some really good pre-builts and pricing templates. And we're busy. We've got other stuff happening. This is a thought in our head. And it's very easy to negotiate with yourself in your head about why you can't do something today. Same with going to the gym. Oh, it's difficult today because I had to get up early and I've got all these other things on today that I need to do. Or actually, I've got a bit of a headache today, so I'll do it tomorrow. Or whatever it is, insert excuse here. And if it's in your head, it's very easy for that negotiation to go on. It happens quite quickly sometimes, or sometimes it might go on for several minutes in the morning, whatever it is. There's no one outside of you holding your feet to the fire, and that is a problem, a lack of accountability. So when you have people who you've told stuff to, who can actually call you on it, it actually gives you some traction to get moving.
Yeah, well, that accountability comes on many levels, right? You got to have a certain amount of it within yourself, but then that external accountability is huge too. Like you look at the going to the gym thing. If I tell myself I'm going to go to the gym today, then maybe I go. If I tell my mates I'm going to go to the gym today, well, then I have to uphold what I said I'm going to do. I have to show integrity, so I'm actually more likely to go. Now, if I have a friend who's going to meet me at the gym, I'm even more likely to go because I can't let them down. Now, where you're really going to go is when your friend is going to pick you up, because that's when your friend comes to you and he says, I'm outside, let's go. Now, at that point, you're going. So there's always levels to, the accountability that you can put on taking action. And I think the more stronger accountability, the higher the level of accountability, the more likely you'll take action and save yourself from yourself, because we all have these moments of weakness where, whether it's weakness of will or whether it's weakness of process or whatever it may be, we have these moments where we don't want to take the action and we don't want to go outside our comfort zone or make change. And so the more accountability, the better. I think actually as a coach and as a coaching business, this is something we encounter all the time, right? Like there's times when we're teaching a tactic to a client from scratch and it's very an educational piece. There's other times when honestly I'm just the guy in the car outside beeping the horn saying, come on.
Yeah, come on.
And, at this point, you know what to do. We've told you what to do here. This is very, very clear. You're completely across it. You've demonstrated your knowledge, but I'm just not going to go away until you do it. And that's actually a big part of coaching as well. And so we see this every day and it really does work. So you need to put that accountability on in some level or it's just very hard to take action.
Yeah, it's like having the unreasonable friend who actually really cares about you. And they care about you enough to be unreasonable.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I used to have a mate who'd come into my my bedroom. I used to flat with him at 5 a.m. And if I didn't get out of bed, he'd flip my mattress with me in it. So, that was a good way to make sure I got to the gym. So
yeah, so accountability is massive. If we're stuck in our own heads, it's easy to negotiate away our commitments to ourselves and not take the action that we need to. So that's a biggie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that leads to the next point, which is sometimes we don't take action because we lack knowledge of the how. So, we're thinking, I really want to do this thing, but I just have no idea where to start. I don't know how to do it. And so I'm just going to put it to the side or hope that, honestly, I learn this by osmosis. And I think sometimes we have no knowledge of the how, and we think we're not taking action because, we don't know what to do. But the reality is that going and actually learning what to do, or learning some of the how to take action, is taking action. So like, again, if I'm wanting to run a marathon and I've never run in my life, then it could be very hard to start. But going and doing some research on, best way to run a marathon, best way to train for a marathon, how to, eat right for a marathon, actually doing the learning on that is taking action. You are taking steps. And so I think that's actually really important as well, is to understand that if you don't have the knowledge, that doesn't mean you can't take action, because acquiring the knowledge is taking action. If you want to put fixed pricing in your business, but you don't know where to start, well then, doing some research on this, getting some help with it, some coaching, perhaps these are all things, that are going to help you to start, because the learning is starting.
Yeah, look, there's a great example in my life. So relationship with my wife, Brom, really important to me. And I'm always thinking about how we can improve that, and because it's the most important relationship you have in your life, and the quality of your intimate relationships kind of determines the quality of your life. And I'm not the expert. I've been married 21 years. I've definitely learned some stuff and what not to do a lot of the time. But I've, through Googling and through research, come across the Gottman Institute, which is a bunch of people who have researched what it takes to have a successful relationship, what they look like. And I've just learned some pretty simple stuff there, which has made it much easier for us to actually put in place a weekly meeting to actually talk about our relationship, how that's going, what we need to improve on, the key questions we can ask each other. It's just a small little bit of how it's made a huge difference to help us take some action that gets a better result. And it might be the same in business, how to hire someone. Well, how do I do that? Well, there's some steps there. If you just learn some of those details, it's going to make the whole process much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think investing into actually building that knowledge, it is taking action. Don't think you're mucking around or procrastinating and then tell yourself, well, I don't want to go and stuff around watching those YouTube clips, listening to those podcasts, reading those books, enrolling in those courses because, that'd be procrastinating. I'm like, well, if you don't know how to do the thing, then taking action to learn to do the thing is taking action. So that's time well spent.
And underneath a lot of the stuckness is actually just fear. Yeah, it's a fear of failure. It's a fear of maybe you not being good enough. It's a fear of maybe rejection. All those things are important, but it is fear. And that is, it is psychological fear, because that fear isn't actually manifested. It hasn't happened. You're just scared of something going wrong. And scared of going wrong is not the same as it's going wrong. And it's really clear, I think, for all of us, when things don't go wrong, that's never, ever as bad as the actual fear of them going wrong. It's not. It doesn't kill you. You realize that if you make a mistake, it doesn't kill you. So, okay, well, then I'll go and fix it up. And so I think it's understanding, just accepting that, you're probably scared of messing things up. You're probably scared of maybe someone telling no to you, or maybe you're scared of, not being good enough at something. Yeah. Of course you're not, because you haven't done it yet.
Exactly.
And that's fine.
That's okay. Have to try it.
You have to try it, because otherwise you will lose respect for yourself if you don't do it. So it's like a little battle with yourself. And that's all it is, and it's about mastering yourself.
Yeah, and I think just reframing as well, like, what are you more scared of? Are you scared of giving this a try and it not working, or are you scared of never, ever, ever having that benefit that you'll achieve from actually executing this task? So what's scarier?
The classic line is, dying and meeting the person you could have become. If you had taken the action you need to, if you die and met the person you could have become, if you'd done the things that you really wanted to do, that is basically hell.
Yeah, exactly. And there's heaps of lines about this. The old choose your hard. Like, would you rather do the hard work to lose some weight, or would you rather do the hard work of dealing with heart disease? Choose your hard. So it's the same in anything, which really leads to the next thing, which is that sometimes when we're looking at choosing our hard, well, the hard right way just is too scary because that gap is too big. Like, so for example, if I weigh 160 kilos and I want to get down to 80, I want to half my weight, I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty big difference. This is going to be way too hard. I'm never going to be able to make it. If I can't run 1 kilometer, 1 mile, whatever, and I want to get to a marathon, that's a big difference. This is going to be really, really hard. The gap is too big. And if I want to put fixed pricing in my business, but I have 2,000 different types of jobs that I'd have to create a fixed price for, again, the gap is too big. But the real key here is you get into this why bother mentality, but actually with every little step you take, if I've got 2,000 different types of jobs I create 5 fixed pricing templates. Well, that's 5 less jobs I have to price in real time. And that's not insignificant. Not to mention, I've made a start and now that gap is slightly smaller. So as I continue to chip away, it gets smaller and smaller. If I'm 160 kilos, I want to get to 80. Well, if I can get down to 150, well, that's 10 kilos I don't have to lose anymore. And now it's going to be slightly easier to exercise. It's going to be slightly easier to maintain my new habits. So it's just about progress. It's not about perfection. And if you're always looking at that top of the mountain peak, then it can feel very overwhelming. Whereas you've just got to be able to actually take some steps and then actually celebrate the steps that you've taken and be proud of the impact that you've made.
Yeah, gratitude is huge, right? Gratitude is acknowledging the success you've had in the small intermediate steps. That's what actually leads to the progress.
Yeah.
Not the huge goal. That's part of it, but you break it down to those little bits, which makes all the difference.
And we can tend to think in a very all or nothing way with that gap, where we're like, I'm in a bad place now, and I'll be in a good place when that gap is completely closed. When actually you're going to have benefits coming to you the whole way along that journey, and you might be in a completely better place when that journey is complete, but you're actually getting into a slightly better place the whole way along that journey. So for example, on a weight loss journey, you're getting improved health benefits with all of the weight you lose the whole time. It's not that I'm going to be completely unhealthy until I halve my weight. You know what I mean? And again, like if I want to put marketing strategies in place, and you've heard somewhere on a podcast that you should have at least 10 strategies going at once, and that feels overwhelming. But if you just get one strategy, well, that's better than the nothing you had before. You're getting more leads than you were getting before. With the second strategy, now we're getting even more leads. It's not like I got nothing all the way up until I finally have 10 strategies live. You know what I mean? So there's progressive benefit the whole way as you close the gap. And I think we need to focus on that benefit and be proud of it along the journey.
They do. And there's a psychological phenomenon that underlines a lot of this, which is a big cause of the stuckness and not actioning the big things you know that you which would make a difference. And that's called the present focus bias. And so as people, we psychologically take much more notice of the challenges and frustrations in front of us today than the potential challenges or frustrations or opportunities that are further down the track. And it's just because they're closer to us in time, and so they appear more important, even though they are not a lot of the time. In fact, a lot of the time they're not. And so a classic example might be, I can eat a donut today, which is fun, but if I keep doing that, I'm going to have heart disease in 25 years' time. Well, not fun. Well, the heart disease is way, way bigger issue, significant issue. The donut, the pleasure from the donut today is actually quite small, but we do some mental gymnastics and make the now thing much bigger than the later thing. And that applies to pretty much everything. In the relationships in your life, there may be some staleness in your relationship. You're like, oh, it's fine, I don't need to deal with it today. But that attitude keeps happening, and then you have a big issue in 10 years' time. Same issue.
Well, the problem with there always being tomorrow is that tomorrow there's still tomorrow.
Tomorrow never comes.
No, that's it.
And so, the now stuff always appears to be more important. But if you step back from the hustle and bustle and the business of life and you look at it objectively, you can say, well, actually, it's not more important. I can use my intelligence, my intellect, to understand that the big thing down the track is actually the important thing, and I do need to do something today to make that happen. And that helps you get some leverage on yourself if you really step back and understand that you're going to be more focused on the today stuff, but to get great results and action the things that you need to change your life, look at the longer term horizon and do that consistently. And that will make a huge difference, because that actually helps you do the cost-benefit analysis. And that's what it's about.
Totally. Well, let's get into how to actually fix this, because I think like we've dug into why this happens. Let's look at what we can do.
The key thing here is just to keep reframing the situation. Keep reframing where you're at. And so you change the way you look at it and understand the implications of the situation you're in, and that's going to help you take the action you need to get that kind of leverage on yourself that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the reframing, we definitely want to make sure we focus on reframing fear of failure, like we mentioned earlier, into framing that into a learning opportunity. So, there are going to be failures along the way. Don't fear them. Those are opportunities for you to iterate and learn and tweak your process so that you have an ultimately better outcome. Yep. You have to do this, and it's actually going to be beneficial to have those bumps and bruises. So, embrace them. Look forward to them.
There's no failure. There's just feedback. That's really helpful reframe. No failure, just feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
And vision and goal setting, I think, is massive, and that helps with that present focus problem. Get a really clear vision of how you want your business, your life, your relationships to look, in 1 year, 3 years, 10 years' time, and then set some goals, because if you focus on that vision, then you're like, that's what I'm about. If I don't take the action I need to, that's what I'm giving up. If I take the action that I need to, that's what I'm going to get. And if you focus on that consistently, daily, that will help you get some leverage on yourself. That'll help you be an unreasonable friend to yourself and hold yourself accountable to the results that you want.
Yeah, massive. And then I think that brings us to coaching. So, look, honestly, winners have a coach. It doesn't matter how good you are at something. Everyone has coaches. In fact, people tend to, the better they get at a skill, the more coaches they have. So I think the real key, we have coaches. We have actually multiple coaches that help us with different aspects of the business. Sometimes we're learning from them, but sometimes we're just using that for accountability. Sometimes they're just the mate outside honking the horn saying, hey, gym time. But one way or another is, having some support, some guidance is a really crucial thing. And so it might be more of an official coach. Obviously, that's what we do here at Profitable Tradie, but it also might be, just having mentors or, people that you can speak to about stuff. It's friends to help you with the accountability. Sometimes your coaches are, going to be books you read. It could be YouTube clips that you watch, podcasts you listen to. It's basically ways to close those knowledge gaps and close those accountability gaps so that you can actually get stuff done. Because like we said, really hard to take action if you A, don't know where to start, or B, are really, really, stressing on all the results, or C, are just lacking accountability to actually take any action. And that's where, coaches, peers, mentors, and information come in to help you to, basically shut the door on those objections and actually do something.
Yeah, there's a big thing here with coaching, and it's not necessarily about coaching, but it is like in our coaching program, the peer group that we have, the 500-600 people in the program,
800.
Okay, yeah. I need to keep up with the game. That they can see what people are doing, what other people are doing, and that promotes them and encourages them to be better, because you want to have people who are further down the track in your group. And if you're just with a bunch of other people who don't take action, you kind of feed on each other's misery. And so you need to get people in your life who actually stretch you, who are doing stuff that you're not doing yet, because that will just make a massive difference to you. You'll actually pull yourself up by your own bootstraps to their level.
Yeah, not to mention if they're doing stuff that you're not doing yet, it's because they've already done the stuff that you're trying to do now. And so when you say, I'm really worried about this, or I'm scared this might happen, or I have that fear of failure, they can say from their own experience, hey, actually, you might want to try this differently, or I've had that mistake and it wasn't so bad, or I've had that mistake and I learned XYZ from it. But they can guide you through that and support you as well, and tell you you're not alone. You're not the only person that's had those fears. So it's pretty important.
Yeah, and if you think about this as a ladder, you're climbing the ladder to where you want to go. A lot of times the rungs are just a little bit too far apart for you, and you're just trying to do a bit much sometimes. You're chewing off a bit more than you can manage right now. Just bring those rungs a bit closer together. Just take really small activity every day. Just small activity makes a huge difference, because it's actually about the progress you make and the momentum you build. And once you do that, you're amazed how much you can do in 2 or 3 years. And if you just get the momentum going, then that will happen for you. So get those rungs on that ladder nice and close together so you can take lots of small steps.
Yeah, and I think finally just ask yourself the question, what's going to change if you don't change? End of the day, if nothing changes, if you don't make any sort of tweaks, iterations, versions, or differences in your business, in your life, there's no different inputs, you can't expect different outputs. And so if you want things to be different for your business or your life, you are going to need to make changes, and they're probably going to have to be significant. So, don't be the frog that thought about jumping. You got to jump. I think that's really the key. So should we land this plane?
Let's do it. They say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and everyone has good intentions. But real change comes from taking action, from putting your big boy, your big girl pants on and doing the tough stuff that's actually going to make a difference. The key is look long term. Realize that if you want to have the life that you deserve, it's going to require you to do some different stuff now to get that result. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.